World Bank predicts that 685 million people could be living in extreme poverty by 2022. Senate urges CBN to forfeit 180 billion naira loans disbursed via National Microfinance Bank as financial institutions closed last trading day of the year early, and stock futures across the world closed lower on final trading day of 2022. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital, on this very last working day of the year 2022. I am Musa Abubakar. President Muhammadu Buhari says all legal disabilities arising from the local and international commercial disputes inhibiting the takeoff of the Ajakuta Steel Company have been dismantled as his administration sustains efforts towards repositioning Kogi for a prosperous future as an industrial hub. Speaking at the Palace of Ohinoyi of Ibraland in Okene during an official visit to the state, the president said Ajakuta is now ready for concessioning to an investor with the right profiles to put it to work for the nation's economic well-being. The World Bank says a total of 685 million people could be living in extreme poverty by the end of 2022. The institution, in its report titled 2022 in 9 charts, said slowing economic growth contributed to a reversal of progress on the global poverty agenda and an increase in global debt. The bank further projected that 7% of the world's population will be in extreme poverty in 2030. The World Bank also said the past year saw the debt crisis facing developing countries intensify, with some 60% of the world's poorest countries in either in debt distress or at risk of it. According to the bank, the global economy is now in its steepest slowdown following a post-recession recovery since 1970, with global consumer confidence already suffering a much sharper decline than during the run-up to previous global recessions. Under the circumstances, the bank explained even a moderate hit to the global economy over the next year could tip it into recession. The total assets of the deposit money banks in Nigeria rose year on year to 63.2 trillion naira in the first 9 months of this year, up 19.04% from 53.1 trillion naira in the corresponding period of 2021. The leading banks contributing to this rise include Zenith Bank PLC, Access Bank, United Bank for Africa PLC, GT Bank PLC, and First Bank. Others are Fidelity Bank PLC, Unity Bank PLC, and Union Bank of Nigeria PLC, Jais Bank PLC, Sterling Bank PLC, Stanbic IBTC Holding PLC, and Wemel Bank PLC. Access Bank emerged the biggest bank in asset size as its total assets for the period stood at 13.45 trillion naira, followed by Zenith Bank with 11.34 trillion naira. First Bank ranked third with 9.85 trillion naira, while UBA and Guarantee Trust Bank placed fourth and fifth with 9.32 trillion naira and 5.81 trillion naira. It is the fourth time in a row the National Assembly will be passing the budget before the next calendar year. Experts say the passage of the 2023 budget is promising given the inherent multiplier benefits that can boost employment and development. Nika Oko got their views and now reports.
The 1.3 trillion naira increase in the budget size, as separately explained by chairmen of the preparation committees at both chambers of the National Assembly, arose from additional funding earmarked for the National Population Commission (NPC) ahead of the planned 2023 census, as well as for the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) for the 2023 general elections, the Nigerian Army, Navy, Nigeria Police Force, Ministries of Agriculture, Health, Aviation, and Science and Technology. A breakdown of the budget allocation indicates that Works and Housing got the highest capital vote of 398.2 billion naira, followed by Defense, which got 285 billion naira, while Agriculture got 248.3 billion naira.
At 6.5 trillion that will be used as debt services, I think the fact that more than 60% of that, at 4.4 trillion naira, is retained for domestic creditors, and just about 1.81 for foreign creditors, is indicative of the fact that the Nigerian economy can be properly supported by our local domestic capital markets. And of course, that 4.48 trillion domestic debt servicing allocation would help a long way to provide continued liquidity in the capital markets.
According to the Nigerian Infrastructure Implementation Master Plan, Nigeria has an infrastructure deficit valued at $8 trillion, requiring about 100 billion naira annual investment within the next 30 years to bridge the gap. With the 398.2 billion naira allocated to the Ministry of Works and Housing, experts hope that the deficit would be reduced significantly, and that would mean improved condition of infrastructure, particularly roads, to connect more communities, thereby encouraging economic development.
When you look at the economic diversification and trying to take care of the issue of poverty, which is necessary, agriculture and rural development has a role to play in the issue of alleviating poverty, and also to take care of the issue of food security, which is also becoming a challenging issue, especially with the effect of the Russia and Ukraine war. So if you look at the three sectors, the way the budget is appropriation is being allocated to them, it speaks what the government really want to achieve.
We have also passed the supplementary budget for 2022. We expect total implementation, no selective implementation. It should be total because this has been what this administration has always tried to do.
If budget discipline is anything to go by, and the government chooses to be meticulous in implementing the 2023 budget, the experts say impact will be much. Nika Oko.
Well, today we are taking a look at the 2023 spending plan, just as yet again the National Assembly passed the nation's budget ahead of the new calendar year. Paul Alaje, senior economist at SPM Professionals, is here with me via phone. You're welcome to Business Express.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, well, when you look at the budget, so what do you make of the budget cycle?
Well, first of all, I must say that authorities remain consistent with budget cycle. You will see the National Assembly said they will not break the gains of the new budget cycle January to December. And many of us had expected that because of the rejection we have seen a week ago, that maybe the National Assembly may take a U-turn. But surprisingly, we saw that eventually the budget was passed before the end of the year. We only wait to see if President Buhari will sign the thing into law. So, as I know for now, everything is still on course regarding January to December budget cycle.
Okay, the 2023 budget was passed along with the 2022 supplementary budget and the 2022 finance bill. Can you share insight into what these will likely translate into?
Okay, so the executive earlier around October submitted 2023 budget and had mentioned a number of things that they wish to embark on. Of course, as usual, capital is involved, and a number of recoveries has been stated by the executive, both debt recurrent and non-debt recurrent, by the executive. We have submitted those to the legislature. But when this budget was passed, the legislature had increased it by looking at the exchange rate. Exchange rate was adjusted on one hand. Also, the legislature increased our oil output to 1.9 million. More importantly, the legislature also adjusted a few other parameters to make provision for what the executive is looking at in terms of budget spending. So next year, of course, which will be starting in a number of days, a number of things are possible. Government have put what has caused a number of strikes between the staff of ASU and federal government that has been catered for. Government has also made provision for about over 3 trillion naira for subsidy in the same budget. And we have seen that we'll be spending significant amount to service debt, between 5 to 6 trillion. I don't have the number handy, but we'll be spending significant amount to service debt for next year. And I see that the budget has also been increased to 21 trillion. These are things that have been documented about this budget. If Mr. President signs the thing, then it automatically becomes the law. So also over 800 billion naira have been signed for Mr. President as supplementary budget for 2022. Recall that it came into finance bill, which is also signed for Mr. President to turn to law, which will also with sources of revenue. Because the question is, if you are spending over 21 trillion naira on budget, how are we going to finance it? We have seen finance 2020, 2021, all that came from that originated from the executive, and the new one that's being submitted by authorities, by the executive, for the National Assembly to pass, so that sources of revenue will increase significantly for those who are due to make some payments.
But looking at the recurrent expenditure of 8.32 trillion naira, and the capital expenditure on the other side, 5.97 trillion naira. What do you make of it? Should someone on the street be hopeful with the gap in recurrent and capital expenditure?
I have always said at all times we should remain hopeful about our country, especially for those of us who have no other home apart from Nigeria. We should be hopeful. So here is it. For the money that are going into recurring, the Affairs Authority must do, because the truth is we must spend more on capital expenditure. That is what we can call the struggle for everyone of us. And when you say recurrent and you call it 8 point something, you need to also have debt to recurrent, debt service and so on to recurrent. So broadly speaking, the separation is between capital and recurrent. The one we are saying capital, debt recurrent and non-debt recurrent, they are all recurrent. So we are still spending over 70% of our budget on recurrent expenditure. So we need to do something about it. At least to bring recurrent apart with capital about 50-50 or 45-55. So what should we worry about it? We see one of the things which you ask is, We started seeing some of the projects the administration has been spending on, even before the beginning of this administration, such as the second Niger Bridge. We have seen Lagos Ibadan. We have seen quite a number of projects that government have done. So, but what it is peak, how well it's done, it's another conversation entirely. So, but I would say, yes, we need to be concerned, but our concern should have limits because those in authority should do the needful very quickly to bring up to bring up capital expenditure to be almost at par with the recurrent counterparts.
Okay, still on jacking up the size of the budget, what happens to reducing cost of governance?
Okay, so cost of governance is not the same thing to cost of budget. It's important for us to reduce cost of governance and government functionaries, but it's more important for us to spend on capital expenditure. It's not what we use to govern. We are talking of building sustainable power plants. Either it's going to be publicly financed or privately financed, building and maintaining infrastructure such as rail, such as roads, such as also local government, state and federal, building sports centers to engage the youth, and quite a number of other things that money are for. So it's not just for governance, cabinet, cities and PAs and so on and so forth. But when we take the right decision regarding our spending, the truth is that we have impact on employment, we have impact on growth, we also have impact on development.
Okay, on issue of fuel subsidy, the regime is to end by mid-2030. What do you make of that, and how do you think government can adequately prepare the public for this?
Well, for me, the decision to kick the count down the road, I don't think it's good enough. Government have budgeted for half a year. I tell you, it's going to be difficult for any president to come and say he wants to just remove subsidy. It will be like camel passing through the needle eye. So it's going to be very, very, very tough. So for what's my advice? My advice is government should take out subsidy in phases. For instance, if a PLN is currently 171.80, government is jack up in the first 3 months to 200, then jack up again to 225, then jack up again to 250, and progressively jack up so that it will rest at the point. So government may be paying, that means government will be paying subsidy only for the short term. And we all know that after some certain time, subsidy will have eventually be removed. And this is what we hope to see. But more importantly, to solve this problem, we expect that those refineries that we have been turning around will eventually become workable, will eventually become sustainable. Because if they are not sustainable, they are a huge cost to us as a country.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul Alaje, Senior Economist at SPM Professionals. Thanks for sharing your thought with us. Okay. Now moving on, the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating alleged illegal export and sale of 48 million barrels of crude oil in 2015 has vowed to uncover and expose those behind this act of economic sabotage. Lami Ali reports that the committee is also investigating crude oil exports from 2014 to date.
This legislative assignment is in response to a whistleblower allegation which emanated in 2020 with information that Nigeria lost more than $2.4 billion of revenue as a result of illegal sale of crude oil somewhere in China. The informants, relying on the current administration's whistleblower policy, revealed the dealings.
Diverted and sold allegedly by certain individuals who were in government, who were in the nation's oil corporation, who were in the security agencies, and who were also cronies of those in authority.
The ad hoc committee is set to ascertain the quantity, revenue generated, and remittances from sales of crude oil from 2014 to date. In another development, member representing Sagbama Keremo Federal Constituency of Bayelsa State, Frederick Agbedi, while briefing the press, commended President Muhammadu Buhari over the restoration of Atala Marginal Field to Bayelsa State.
Mr. President some time ago also ordered that 10 of such marginal fields that were located to the states should be returned back to the states.
The Senate had also been instrumental in resolving the dispute over ownership of the field between the state and some private entities. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali.
Now, the revised Capital Market Master Plan 2015-2025 developed by the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) Nigeria in collaboration with stakeholders has been described as capable of providing a blueprint to harness these opportunities to better position the capital market as the engine of economic growth and development. Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Lamido Yuguda, who stated this recently, disclosed that the master plan captures the challenges of the capital market in actualizing its role to drive national economic growth and also proffers solutions to enable the capital market to attain its full potentials. Yuguda stated that Nigeria in the last decade has firmly emerged as one of the leading frontier markets in Africa with immense potential for significant growth, as the aspiration of the government to create opportunities for the private sector to be a major engine of growth that guarantees improvement in the welfare and standard of living of the citizens. As he said, diligently articulating Nigeria's medium-term national development plan 2021-2025. A solid close in the last trading day of the year 2022 as the all-share index logged 1,000 points. Investors exchanged 51,251.06 shares valued at 7.355 billion naira in 3,556 deals. Market capitalization increased to 27.915 trillion naira, wrapping the year in grand style. Now, global stock update is next.
European markets recorded the worst year since 2018 as Russia's war in Ukraine, high inflation, and tightening monetary policy hammered risk assets around the world. The German DAX and French CAC started the last trading day of 2022 down more than 6%, while the UK's FTSE lost 0.28%. Stocks in Asia traded high on the last trading session of the year after Wall Street rebounded overnight, recovering most losses from the previous day. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index rose 0.2%. The Shanghai Composite gained 0.51%, while the Nikkei 225 was flat to end at 26,094.5. U.S. stock futures edged lower in early trading as investors braced for the final trading day of the worst year since 2008. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped 0.29%, S&P 500 dropped 0.36%, and Nasdaq 100 traded 0.3% lower. For the African continent, it was mixed trading this last trading day of the year, with stocks in South Africa, Kenya, and Tunisia slipping into bear territory, while Namibia's overall index and Ghana's GSE Composite were marginally positive.
Well, that's it. This is where we end Business Express for this week, this month, and this year. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. Business Express returns next year. See you in 2023.